Welcome to Mexico Unexplained, where we will explore the magic, the mysteries, and the miracles of Mexico. This series presents information based partly on theory and conjecture. The podcaster's purpose is to suggest some possible explanation, but not necessarily the only ones to the subjects we will examine. Here is your host, Robert Bitto.
Welcome and muy bienvenidos to episode number 406 of Mexico Unexplained, where we examine the magic, the mysteries, and the miracles of Mexico. I'm your host, Robert Bitto. Today we're stepping beyond the borders of Mexico to explore a mystery that might tie the ancient Americas together in ways we're only beginning to understand. Picture this. A sprawling city rises from the plains of what's now Illinois, its massive earthen mounds casting shadows over a bustling population of thousands. This is Cahokia, the greatest pre-Columbian metropolis north of Mexico, thriving around 1,000 years ago. At the same time, thousands of miles to the south, the towering pyramids and vibrant cities of Mesoamerica, the Maya, the Toltecs, the Zapotecs, pulse with life. Could these two worlds so distant on the map have touched? Were there threads of trade, ideas, or even people weaving them together? For decades, archaeologists have debated this question. Some see only faint echoes, such as shared crops or similar shapes in the dirt. Others, like Professor Timothy Pockat, argue for something bolder, a real connection, maybe even a ripple of influence from Mesoamerica to the Mississippi. In this show, we will sift through the evidence, weigh the arguments, and lean into Pockat's ideas as a possibility that just might spark the imagination. Let's dive in. First, let's set the stage. Cahokia wasn't just a village, it was a powerhouse. At its peak, between 1050 and 1200 AD, it sprawled across 6 square miles near modern-day St. Louis, Missouri, in the heart of what is now the continental United States. Cahokia's population grew to between 10,000 and 20,000, which was bigger than London at the time. At its heart stood Monk's Mound, a flat-topped giant, 100 feet high with a base covering 14 acres. Surrounding it were dozens of smaller mounds, a grand plaza, and a curious circle of cedar posts called Woodhenge. This was the capital of the Mississippian Culture, a people who farmed maize, traded across vast distances, and left behind a legacy in earth and artifacts. Now Mesoamerica, the land of Teotihuacan's pyramids, the Maya's jungle cities, and the Toltec-influenced Chichen Itza. By Cahokia's time, Teotihuacan had faded, but the Maya were still thriving, and the Toltecs were setting the stage for the later ascendancy of the Aztec Empire. These civilizations built stone cities, tracked the stars, and traded jade, cacao, feathers, shells, and obsidian across hundreds of miles. Could their reach have stretched north to Cahokia? To answer that, we need evidence, hard facts, not just wishful thinking. Let's start with what we can hold in our hands and see with our eyes. One of the clearest links between Cahokia and the South is trade. Archaeologists who dig into Cahokia's mounds find jewelry and ceremonial objects made from whelk shells, big spiraled beauties from the Gulf of Mexico over 700 miles away. These weren't just trinkets, they were symbols of power worn by Cahokia's elite. The Gulf Coast was a crossroads, and those same shells appear in Mesoamerica, adorning Maya priests, Zapotec elites, and Toltec warriors. Did traders paddle up the Mississippi, swapping shells for copper or furs, indirectly tying Cahokia to Mesoamerican markets? It's a solid maybe. Although no Mayan pots or Aztec gold artifacts have turned up in Illinois. However, the Gulf could have been a bridge. Then there's maize. Cahokia's fields were thick with it, fueling their sudden urban boom. Maize was born in Mesoamerica, domesticated around 5000 BC, and crept north over centuries through cultures like the Hopewell. By 900 AD, it was Cahokia's lifeblood. This isn't contact in the handshake sense. Rather, it's a slow handoff across generations. It's a thread, though, a shared lifeline stretching back to Mexico's ancient farmers. Copper is another clue. Cahokia's artisans hammered it into plates like the famous Birdman tablet, showing a falcon-winged figure. Mesoamericans worked copper, too, centuries earlier at Teotihuacan and in the lands of the Tarascan or Purepecha Empire. The methods differ, though. Cahokia didn't smelt its copper like the civilizations to the south, but the reverence for copper as a sacred metal might echo across that divide. Could stories of its power have drifted north with the shells? It's a stretch, but not impossible. The catch? Researchers have no smoking gun. Mesoamerica traded obsidian, cacao, even scarlet macaw feathers as far north as Chaco Canyon in New Mexico, over 1,500 miles north of Mexico City. For more information about ancient Mexican trade with the American Southwest, please see Mexico Unexplained, episode number 402. Despite the possibility of contact, Cahokia's digs lack the items found at Chaco Canyon. If Mesoamerican goods reach the Mississippi, they're hiding well. So even if the artifact trail is thin, what about the intangibles such as ideas, rituals, and designs? Here's where things get intriguing and become very much debated. Cahokia's mounds look eerily like Mesoamerican pyramids. Monk's Mound, with its terraces and plaza, feels like a cousin to Teotihuacan's Pyramid of the Sun. Both were platforms for ceremonies and served as important structures for the political and priestly elite classes. Woodhenge, aligned to the solstices, mirrors observatories like Chichen Itza's El Caracol. Both cultures watched the sky to time their harvests and to honor their gods. Then there's the darker side, sacrifice. Mound 72 at Cahokia holds a chilling scene. 52 young women buried in rows, likely killed to accompany a high-ranking figure into the afterlife. Mesoamerican cultures are no strangers to human sacrifice. The scale is different, but the idea of offering lives to satisfy the whims of divine entities or earthly rulers might have traveled north. Art tells a story, too. Cahokia is part of the southeastern ceremonial complex. Imagine falcon motifs, long-nosed god, ear ornaments, depictions of serpents, and conch shell pendants. Flip to Mesoamerica, and you see Maya lords draped in shell necklaces, feathered serpents in various forms of artwork and ear adornments. Are these coincidences, or did symbols travel with traders, priests, or wanderers? Critics wave this off. Mound building predates Cahokia in North America and can be found in the Adena and Hopewell cultures. Astronomy is universal as every farmer tracks the sun. Sacrifice? It pops up globally, without contact between peoples. The old guard of Mississippian archaeology says these are parallel paths, not borrowed blueprints. Fair point, but the similarities nag at the curious and maybe even the hopeful. Enter Timothy Pockat, an archaeologist who is not afraid to push the envelope. He sees more than echoes. He sees influence, maybe even a wave from Mesoamerica crashing into Cahokia. The professor asks us to picture this. Around 1000 AD, drought and chaos rock northern Mexico. The Toltecs rise as the Maya falter. One can only wonder, did refugees or traders flee north, carrying ideas up the Gulf Coast and the Mississippi River? Pockat points to Cahokia's sudden urban leap around 1050 AD. Mounds and plazas seem to pop up overnight, signifying a new order. Too fast, he argues, for homegrown evolution alone. Professor Pockat elaborates on the specifics. Some Cahokian mounds have rounded tops, unlike most Mississippian squares, closer to Mesoamerican styles. Steam baths dug up near Cahokia recall Temazcal rituals from Mexico. The Birdman? Pockat ties it to thunderbirds and Mesoamerican bird dances, like the Danza de los Voladores still performed today. At Missouri's Picture Cave, he interprets a rock panel, warriors a bird figure, as a Mesoamerican-style ritual scene, not just local lore. Pockat's boldest claim involves Cahokia's cosmic layout, mounds aligned, plazas planned, which mirrors the sacred geography of Teotihuacan or Chichen Itza. He's not saying Maya refugees built Monk's Mound, but that their ideas might have seeded it through wanderers or word of mouth. Even maize gets a twist. Nearby Chitimacha use lime to process it, a Mesoamerican trick called nixtamalization. Did that knowledge ripple up to Cahokia's doorstep, or was it brought there directly by the ancient Mexicans themselves? Not everyone's sold on the Cahokia/Mesoamerica connection. Traditionalists argue there's no hard proof. No jade, no cacao, no glyphs. Trade? Sure. But shells and maize don't mean Mesoamerican priests paddled up the Mississippi River all the way to Illinois. Mounds and astronomy could be human nature, not borrowed plans. Genetic studies? Nothing links Cahokians to Mesoamericans yet. Timothy Pockat's critics call his ideas speculative, a leap from coincidence to causation. They've got a point. The ancients had thousands of miles to trek, and the artifact gap yawns wide. Yet Professor Pockat's views linger. The Gulf Coast traded with both worlds. Chaco Canyon got Mesoamerican goods, so why not Cahokia, just farther east? The timing, drought in Mexico, a boom at Cahokia, teases a story. It's not fact, but just maybe it's not fantasy either. So where does this leave us? Cahokia and Mesoamerica share threads, maize, shells, and maybe a common vibe in their mounds, art, and rituals. Hard evidence of contact? Slim. Cultural diffusion? Possible. Pocat's vision, a spark from the south igniting Cahokia's rise, stirs the pot. Imagine a trader, shell necklace clinking, telling tales of pyramid cities under a southern sun. Imagine a priest hearing stories of Quetzalcoatl carving that Birdman plate. No one has found the boat or the footprint to prove it all, but the possibility exists, quiet and curious. Thank you once again for listening to another episode of Mexico Unexplained. Remember to like and subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on X and TikTok. Tell your friends by sharing these shows with others. Please go to our website, MexicoUnexplained.com, for references, illustrations, and for free access to transcripts of past shows. Please visit Amazon.com to purchase the books Mexico Unexplained, Mexican Monsters, and Mexican Miracles to get hard copies of the magic, the mysteries, and the miracles of Mexico. We appreciate your kind attention once again. Until next time, thank you and gracias.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Mexico Unexplained with host Robert Bitto. For show summary, relevant links and commentary, please check out our website at mexicounexplained.com. Like us on Facebook and be a part of the conversation. Adios and hasta la vista.